Picture the Country Club Plaza as you know it today. Its wide avenues and sidewalks, ample and conveniently placed parking structures, cohesive architectural style, and overall sense of place. What you may not know about that picturesque scene is that each and every brick, tile, fountain, and streetlight was individually placed as dictated by the Country Club Area Plan, a product of the Kansas City Department of Planning and Development. Now, picture the plaza if anyone could build whatever they wanted, wherever they wanted, and you begin to see the importance of planning. What seems so flowing and effortless to most, the greatest parts of Kansas City look the way they do because of the careful practice of urban planning over time. As a student of urban planning here in Kansas City, I have had the pleasure of utilizing the city as my research lab and its plans as my textbooks. I'd like to take you through the history of Kansas City through a planner's lens. We'll start at the very beginning, Westport, from which we will move through downtown and the plaza's development booms and the current state of citywide development. In order to understand how the city became what it is today, we must, of course, start at the beginning. What is now Kansas City is actually a combination of two different settlements, Francois Choteau's fur trading post and John McCoy's supply station. In the same year Missouri was admitted to the Union, a Frenchman from St. Louis, Missouri, Francois Choteau, came up the Missouri River and established a trading post on the waterway, an ideal location for fur trading as time has told, an ideal location for a successful city. To avoid the unruly and uncontrolled river currents, Choteau set up shop atop the high bluffs and began to carve out streets and plots of land, effectively planning and eventually forming the first neighborhood, Quality Hill, according to visitkansascity.com, which is the city's travel bureau. Soon after Quality Hill began to rise from the muddy banks, Choteau was able to convince fellow French-American families to join him. Many people would be surprised to find out that Kansas City's first non-Native American settlement actually had French origins. The small settlement of Quality Hill began to thrive. The city's original downtown street grid was beginning to take shape, and its success inspired others to migrate to the area. Shortly after hearing of Quality Hill's success, another enterprising young man named John Calvin McCoy was also interested in selling and trading and opened a store a few miles south of the river, along the Santa Fe Trail. McCoy filed a plat on his land in 1833, and because he considered it a gateway to the New West, named it Westport, according to the Historic Kansas City Foundation. Westport became an important stop along all three of the major trails, which are the Santa Fe, the California, and the Oregon trails, because it was the last stop before heading into the Kansas Territory, which was then unincorporated into the Union. By 1850, Choteau, McCoy, and 13 other property owners banded together and purchased a 271-acre tract of land stretching from the river southwest to Westport. Legend has it that the men held a meeting to decide a name for the new collective settlement. After rejecting Port Fonda, Rabbitville, and Possum Trot, they finally decided on the town of Kansas, after the Kansa Indians who inhabited the area. Fast forward about 100 years, and Kansas City has become one of the biggest cities in the country, known for its production, transportation, and much like today, its food. By 1865, the Pacific Railroad had reached Kansas City, and soon a bridge was built that would span the Missouri River and really encourage development in the city. After the bridge was built, the city's population nearly quadrupled. It annexed Westport and became finally Kansas City. Soon, a major downtown district and a major residential and shopping district, now known as the Plaza, would follow. Downtown really boomed once the bridge spanning the river connected it to its northerly neighbors in St. Joseph and even further into Chicago. Planners were conflicted about whether to put the bridge in Kansas City or Leavenworth, but eventually agreed on Kansas City, perhaps the biggest contributing factor for Kansas City's growth. Today our big metropolitan area might be surrounded around Leavenworth instead of Kansas City if that bridge hadn't been built. So it's very important. The volume of train travel in Kansas City was rivaled only by Chicago, and soon many residential and commercial projects were underway to accommodate the masses of new residents. From 1890 to 1940, Kansas City was essentially ruled by Democrat political bosses James and Tom Pendergast, who ran the local construction and concrete business in the city. These men were responsible for most of the skyscrapers we now see downtown. Also responsible for a great deal of development in Kansas City was J.C. Nichols, creator of the Country Club Plaza, real estate mogul, and the city's most notorious planner. J.C. Nichols started planning an upscale community called the Country Club Plaza District in 1906. The development spans across what is now known as the Ward Parkway Estates, Brookside, Sunset Hills, and a collection of other large, stately neighborhoods. In the 1920s, Nichols created the Country Club Plaza, a shopping district modeled after the town of Seville, Spain, which would serve as the anchor to his new residential community. Nichols continued to improve these developments, as well as continued to build out more residential areas, including Crestwood and the other neighborhoods that now surround UMKC. He was also instrumental in designing the expansive streetcar system that used to cover the entire city. Yes, Kansas City used to have streetcars along almost every major street that would take you from as far as downtown to where is now Waldo. Like most major cities, Kansas City slumped from the 1960s to 1990s. Downtown and the plaza declined as masses of people left the inner city for the brand new suburban towns like Blue Springs and Overland Park. Finally, in the late 90s to early 2000s, Kansas City was starting to revitalize and saw many improvements, from the Crossroads Art District to the new Power and Light District. My purpose today has been to help you experience your city from a different perspective. I hope you can take some of the things I've shared today and use them to appreciate your surroundings and enhance your civic pride. The next time you're in a modern retreat of the Power and Light District, perhaps you can look around and identify how the historic buildings and organization of the downtown enhances the experience of being there. Maybe next time you're in Westport, you can see past the crawling mobs of people and recognize you're standing where Kansas City's first citizens decided to call home. Wherever you go in the city, remember that the way you experience the space you're in was deeply considered when it was placed there. Thank you.